What's up, Star Trek fans? Episode 8 is out. This is a spoiler-filled review. I'm going to try to get through this thing as quickly as possible. I know I'm going to miss a lot of things, and I'm probably going to end up reviewing the whole season all over again, breaking down more things and getting into more specifics. But um, I put out my rating system or my ratings for all the episodes earlier today, so maybe you can follow along with me on that. If you saw that video, it's up. Go watch it at some point. My ratings, episodes 1 through 7. I feel like I'm on par with a lot of other people who are reviewing this, like Rotten Tomatoes, who the fans of Rotten Tomatoes buried Picard seasons 1 and 2, and the critics of Rotten Tomatoes gave it a pretty good B plus. However, season 3 is getting a perfect A plus from the critics, and the fans are almost giving it an A plus as well, or maybe a B plus, but it's pretty much falling on that A spot for the fans, which is amazing. This is great news for Star Trek Picard season 3, and it should be great news for everybody. Yesterday was Star Trek First Contact Day. You would know it because they didn't announce anything really, and it was very quiet. But that being said, I gave my ratings. Go watch that video if you want. Or I can spoil it right now and tell you that pretty much everything got above a 6.5, which is a check mark thumbs up from me. But feel free to watch that video, even though I just spoiled it for you right now. I'm pretty high on the season. I gave last season almost all X's, which were episodes that fell below a 6.0 for me. So this season is crushing it. Or at least compared to last season. Anyway, we got Captain Shaw. He's getting the hell beat out of him to open this thing up. Episode 7 is one of the most oddly figured out episodes so far of the season. And as everybody predicted and as everybody had thought, Episode 8 is much better when you get to view it back-to-back with Episode 7. Episode 7 by itself, it's just too long of a wait for the next episode, for that episode to ever have had a chance at being an absolute smash. But I did really like the episode. Anyway, it was very dark. The piano music in it was phenomenal and beautiful, and just the tone was so dark. It's the darkest episode of the entire series so far. And that's good because this episode 8 really continues that darkness at the beginning, and towards the end, the payoff is brilliant. And I really loved it. So, really kudos to everybody for this. This was a wonderful payoff to get and a wonderful thing to get. I really enjoyed it. Vatic on the bridge. You got Geordi and Data. Just the ship is in disarray. Vadic's controlling the whole thing. She's got them lined up like an execution is coming, and you figure that's what's going on. And there's a lot of anxiety here because of that. Jack wants to go up and just give himself up. He's also having those visions. He attempts to kind of use his mind control to get out of where they're hiding, to try to send someone else up on the bridge to help maybe, or to go investigate through the eyes of someone else using those powers that he has, which doesn't work. He ends up getting that person killed, actually, kind of, by avataring with them. And I know a lot of people have a lot of concerns about Jack being a superpower person or whatever like that. I do too. And that's only because if you look at season 1, you have the girl who can do anything, the super key to everything girl, and then you have it again here, and you have it again. It's just like in all Star Trek has this now. It's very Discovery. So there's a lot of people that have anxiety about Jack. But if there's one thing that we know about season 3 of Picard and the way that the writers of Picard season 3 have done things, as well as Terry Matalas's vision of season 3, it's that most things pay off. Even small little questions that you have at some point are answered or pay off in some way, or at least it sort of makes sense in the end. So I am confident, I am very confident, actually, that the situation with Jack can possibly pay off in a good way instead of just being he's magic. And so hopefully that's the case. If it was a different season that sucked, then I would be more concerned. But I'm building my faith here, and I think you should have your faith build up as well. Very anxiety-ridden moment on here. Now we finally get Troy and Riker, who in last episode were just missing. The big cliffhanger was, oh my God, Troy and Riker, what's going on? You know, Troy is like, oh, Will, and then the whole other episode, you don't get that. So that's another problem that happened. I think a lot of people were angry at episode 7. In the long scheme of things, we get it here in episode 8, and I really don't have a problem with it. The bouncing around there doesn't bother me, because that's like a cliffhanger that's waiting around, and it gets to reappear at the end of episode 8. But during episode 7, you're wondering what happened still. But it was so good that I just didn't notice as much as other people. That's why I didn't even bring it up in my review the last time. I saw people complaining about it, and I was like, oh, yeah, you know what? I didn't even think of that. That's how stupid I am. I was like, I was just paying attention to 7. I wasn't thinking about what happened to Will and Deanna, but I should have been, because doesn't, we just don't get to see it. But the story makes sense with it being delayed, But I just think a lot of people are like waiting for that to be answered. These scenes I thought were wonderful with them talking, how they were talking. Riker is so great in this. He is just so Riker. Frakes is just so good in this season. And Deanna as well. Man, Marina Sirtis is so different from Counselor Troy. And you would think that maybe she would let a little too much Marina slip in. And she really doesn't. She really goes back into Troy. This feels like Troy. It doesn't feel like Marina Sirtis. It feels like Troy. And, over the years, Troy became a little more Marina in looks, I feel like. And maybe the accent a little bit. But she is amazing at going back into this character. And she like oozes with that comfortable compassion. And genuine just love in her eyes for people. Like, Marina is great. There were people online complaining, like, where's Marina? Why isn't Marina there? Ah! Hey, you know what, bro? She literally lives on the other side of the world now. She doesn't live in L.A. anymore. She's retired for the most part. She has her own life. Her husband passed away a little while ago, unfortunately. She's moved on from a lot of things. I'm sure she didn't want to spend, 30 days, 60 days, or whatever it is, out in L.A. at this point. So they worked around her schedule, I'm sure, to make this show happen the way it did. She probably maybe would have shown up earlier, but quite honestly, the way this show builds everybody in is wonderful, and it makes sense. And because of that methodical build of everybody, the payoff is greater because of this. The payoff is much greater than if everybody just showed up at the beginning anyway. So it works out, and we're getting a lot of her in this episode, it feels like, and that's great. So you're getting Riker and Troy together finally in episode 8. These scenes were great with her. I loved Riker and her chemistry there. Dude, it was it was heartfelt. It was beautiful scenes. I just loved their scenes. I can't think of the things they said right now that got me, but I really loved it. I think episode 8 has made episode 7 better. I think I gave episode 7 a 6.5 in my overall review, the worst rating of all 7 episodes, but yet still a thumbs up from me. But maybe I'll bump that rating up from a 6.5 to a 7. And you know what I mean? And these are all really good ratings from me, because I'm a harsh piece of garbage. Like, I'm kind of a scumbag when it comes to rating things. But season 3 is friggin', god damn it, dude. We finally have real Star Trek again. Like, it feels like. Dude, I am on the verge of... Dude, what is wrong with me? I'm on the verge of tears over the idea that Star Trek... that this feels like Star Trek. or at least it feels like a Star Trek: The Next Generation movie that we never got. It really does feel like that. Other people said that, and I heard that and went, okay, cool. Hey, did you hear what they're saying about it? But I'm feeling that now. Like, I'm feeling it. I can't believe it, man. I feel weird. I'm used to bashing stuff and bashing Picard and bashing Star Trek and just being like depressed over it and angry, and this is unbelievable. Vadic is great, I think, here. I think she does lose a little bit of luster, right? And I know that some people aren't happy with her story of revenge or whatever. But you know, I always saw her as I always thought she was going to be used like this. Like, she's the mustache twirling evil villain, and she's mad about something with, Starfleet. Ooh, I'll get that revenge on you, Starfleet. But it really was leading to something crazier. And it is apparently leading to something crazier, and I wonder what the face is that that she was talking to, and what is this thing that is happening to Jack. It's got to have something to do. It's got to be all connected to that. And quite honestly, me and my wife did a podcast the other day about what we think is going to happen. And I'm not going to say it here because I'll do it in my other video, because it could be fairly spoilery for what ends up happening. I don't know. We could be completely wrong. And if we're completely wrong, then, I mean, we're completely wrong. But if we are on the money, then, people might be like, oh, shit, I wasn't thinking about that until you said that. So that video will go up probably towards next week, but it will be going up with heavy, like, spoiler type of warning. Like, if you don't even like hearing about something that you didn't think about it could be, we'll have like a spoiler thing or whatever. And then we'll see who was more wrong or right, me or my wife. And I can't wait to hear that. I can't wait for you to hear that. It'll be fun. Shaw is bleeding badly, and he's hurt. All season long since episode 1, the joke was that this guy was going to be killed off in the first episode or the second episode. And now Shaw is here, so this was making me very nervous when they were all lined up. And, Vadic was threatening to execute people. Picard's like, you can't go to the bridge. You can't do this. You got to stay here. She'll just execute. She'll just take the whole ship and kill us all if you do this. Again, then Worf shows up. They play the cool Klingon theme, and here comes Worf. This was hilarious. I am so glad that they acknowledged the whole thing with Worf and Deanna and the relationship, because he would feel a certain way about Deanna still, in a way, after all this time. And I forget what he said. I've counted the days since we last spoke with Hummingbird. Like, I don't remember what he said, but it was really funny. And then Riker just being like, okay, like, that's enough. Look at that. The love triangle hug right here. I never really liked Worf and Deanna being together. I didn't like that. I didn't get it. And it was bizarre because it was going on in the last episode of TNG. And then they sort of just kind of retconned it away in the movies, which was wonderful. And right there told you that the All Good Things ending was already going to be different than anything that would be happening now. Because that was always an optional universe. And one of the only things that stay the same is that LaForge's daughters have the same names. So this was a wonderful moment. I loved it, and it was great. And then they had to hook. They needed to get control of the ship, and in order to do that, they needed something that was capable of hundreds of thousands of millions of computations within a matter of seconds or something like that. And I love how LaForge was like, a whole team could do it like in a year maybe or something. My dad could probably do it in a month, but it's not going to help us now. And of course, Picard and everybody immediately thinks, I know somebody that can do that. Data, or Data Lore before body or whatever he is. But he is battling the two main partitions of the Sung Golem android are battling, and that is lore and data. I felt always that this show was going to have a battle between lore and data, and the data would overcome it, and that's how we would get data back. I always believed that. I always thought that. I think I even talked about that's how I would do it months ago before I ever saw this show. So, it's crazy because I knew in my head, in my heart, I felt like, yeah, Data's going to overtake lore and then he'll become Data again. Now, I thought he would become Data again, like literally like robot Data that we all know, the actual Data. I didn't think he would become like a mix of Data or like a Data with some new changes. So I didn't know that. And I also didn't think I would be as emotional about this and worried. Despite in my brain being like, oh yeah, this is what they're doing. I would do that, so I know that's what they're doing. Despite that, I was worried. Very worried. So they kept me worried, and I really was concerned. And when Data took over the body, I really was like, fuck yeah. Goodbye, brother. Goodbye. Star Trek Nemesis. I loved this. The only thing, you want to fucking nitpick, here it comes. The only thing I would have done, because this was like a visual representation of, Data taking over lore. I almost had wished the Data had said something like, while you were busy receiving my precious memories, because you consider them trophies, I knew you would take them. And while you were busy taking my trophies, you were actually becoming me. And while you were distracted by that, I was activating a subroutine that was slowly taking over your parallel sector nanoparticle, something. So that, like, you know what I mean? So that it's not just visually he was giving the memories to him to become him, because it almost sounds kind of magical, but a little bit of math, technical science, technobabble thrown in there, I would have put it over more for me. Like, oh shit. Like, we were watching this visual representation, yeah, but Data was actually running some kind of smart-ass fucking subroutine thing in the background while lore was busy getting fucking presents. And that's essentially what Data says, you know what I mean? Like, I knew you couldn't resist, these things. They're trophies to you. So, honestly, what does it fucking matter either way? So, that's a super nitpick thing that just for me would have helped me a little more be like, damn, that's fucking Data, where this felt a little magical, which is it's supposed to, because it's a visual representation of the two fighting, as opposed to just them being like, lore is now like, wait a minute, how are you going to show this to the audience? You know what I mean? They're battling mentally, so how are you going to show that to the audience? I mean, a fist fight, that would be just stupid, right? If the visual representation was them fighting each other everywhere and whatever. So this mental kind of gifting thing was actually awesome. Like, I loved this scene. And this was, it reminded me of The Matrix, the third Matrix movie, when Neo just basically let Agent Smith consume him, because then just he killed Smith by doing that. That's what this was. This was Data's Matrix Revolutions moment, or whatever you want to call it. So either way, I loved it. I loved this. I really did love this. All right. What am I doing, bro? Can you believe I'm a grown person? Am I a grown person, bro? It's so funny. If you watch my other Picard reviews, it's like me raging in anger. You watch my Discovery review, it's like me raging in anger. And now I'm sitting here just like, I can't even keep it together, bro. I can't keep it together, man. I love this. It's crazy. I think people are really going to enjoy this show when they see it on repeat views, too. I think repeat viewing of this is a must, bro. Maybe I got brain damage. There's Picard naked. And they find Picard's body, and that's where they're like, oh, shit, we got his body. All right, we got to get off the Shrike. And Raffi. And by the way, Raffi and Worf, I don't know why people were confused about this, but for like the whole week last week, people were like, where's Worf? I was like, what do you mean, where's Worf? He literally said to Picard in episode 6, he's like, I will bring William Riker home, Picard. Maybe they got confused because he goes, I will bring William Riker home. And then he's in the next scene opening Data up with everybody. And I was like, why is Worf still here? I thought Worf said goodbye to Picard and said, I'll bring William Riker home. Why is now Worf here again? So that was weird, but that was episode 6. But then in episode 7, everybody was like, where's Worf? And Raffi, oh, they're off to investigate something. Well, did you not hear Worf say he was literally going to bring home William Riker in episode 6? Are you fucking deaf or something? I heard so many people say, well, what happened to them? And what happened to Deanna? What happened to Riker? And it was just like, well, Worf said he's going to go look for Riker. Deanna's there, and now this is happening on the Titan. So then we get what happens on the Titan, and then episode 8 here opens up, and we see Deanna and Riker, and then Worf shows up. I mean, it would have been ridiculous if Worf said, I will bring Riker home, and then like 2 seconds later he was rescuing Riker and Deanna. You know what I mean? That would have been ridiculous. They needed time to pass. So, like, anyway, I thought this was perfectly done, but I did hear people goofily complaining about where's Worf. He fucking told you where he was in episode 6. I don't know. So this part was great. Again, loved it. We get the battle. Then Data becomes fully Data for the most part. I also left out the part where they execute Tavine. Tavine gets killed, the Vulcan, who I liked. And I was kind of upset. I got to be honest. I barely know her. I'm not that upset because I barely know her, but I liked her. She was a Vulcan. She did a good job. She seemed like she would be interesting to be on the crew, and they executed her. I feel really bad for the actress, because if there is a Star Trek Legacy, which maybe there won't be because there's been no announcement from Paramount about nothing today, really, other than some pictures of Strange New Worlds. Very weird. And from what I can understand, there's been no announcement about Star Trek Picard 4 or Legacy or anything from anybody. They need to hire Terry now for Star Trek. I cannot believe. I'm sure that there's some anxiety going on right now for everybody because they're cutting back on Star Trek, it seems a bit. There's a writer's thing going on or something. But I cannot believe that they won't hire Terry Metalis, that they won't announce it by sometime at the end of this season. I'll give it 30 days after this season ends. I expect to see a tweet from Terry. Hey, guess what, everybody? Legacy. Like, it's happening. Like, I fully expect that. If there's nothing, and this never happens, and pretty much nothing else happens but Strange New Worlds, the last Discovery season, and then Starfleet Academy happens, and then there's no hiring of Terry Metalis, I swear to God, I might eat my own shit live on the air. Because, I don't know, man. I felt really depressed a bit today, too, man. Just talking to a lot of different people, and I don't know, bro. I'm worried. Now, I looked up Terry Metalis for Terry Metalis out there, if he's ever watching this, and everybody else involved, I looked up seasons 2 and 3 of Picard's trends. So in the year when Picard season 2 aired, you can see that in the middle in the red circle. This is a YouTube search of season 2 of Picard when Picard was airing. Now look at season 3 to the right with the green circle. Season 3 is crushing. It's doubled. It's doubled. Season 3 has doubled season 2. Like, I don't, like, this is important information. These are real fucking numbers from Google. There's twice the amount of searching going on right now for Picard during season 3. And there's back at season 2 during the dates that it aired. That's exactly what it was like. Now, that's the YouTube search. I also did the Google search. And look at the Google search. The Google search isn't as prominently bigger, isn't much bigger, but it is still quite bigger. Look at the number. Season 3 has reached higher lengths than season 2 ever did. And even season 3, as it continues, is still riding pretty close to the 2 highest points of season 2. So that is really important information. Season 3 has been more successful than season 2. Usually you don't see a third season eclipse the season before. That's crazy to me. I also, just for the fun of it, looked up Terry Metalis versus Joe Cronin. My show. And I got to be honest, Terry Metalis, we're fighting it out tooth and neck, search history-wise, interest-wise. And I will say that Terry is starting to overtake me in popularity. But I will say one thing to Terry Metalis. As far as me and him go, I don't think Terry's going to ever touch that big blue shot right in the middle there, spiking way above anything ever that's ever been searched on him. So, Terry, I just got to tell you, man, I'm bigger. It's okay, you're richer, probably. I don't know, I'm just messing around. I just did that for fun. But seriously, let's get back to it. So, yeah, they execute Tavine, and that sucks for the actress, especially if they ever do anything in the future. But if they don't do anything in the future, then fuck it. You had an awesome death scene in Star Trek. That's fucking fire. And then we get more teasing about, like, oh, I'll show you who you really are type of thing. And we've been waiting forever for Vadic to tell us who he is. And Jack's holding what looks to be a bomb in his hand right here. And you're like, oh, shit, he's going to blow up the ship? What's going on? And then Vadic starts being like, I know about the red door and shit. And he's like, holy shit, you know about the red fucking door that I always see? What the fuck's going on? And I'm like, oh my God, I gotta know the red door. And then Data's like, all right, he takes over Lore and he becomes fully Data. And then he's like, say no more, Captain. I'll take the ship back. And then there's a little bit of a funny Data moment of him saying, hey, your friendly security system's back online or whatever. And then 7 of 9 refuses to go into the hole. And she doesn't go, so now she's with Jack, and he's like, oh, you really should have gone, and you'll see what that means later. Because then once Data takes back over the ship, Picard's like, no, blow the emergency, whatever the fuck, the emergency bridge hatch or whatever it's called. Now, you're going to have some people who are like, oh, they just put that in there to do this scene. But I think this has been mentioned before that this exists on other ships. But it's actually really not a big deal either way because it does make some kind of sense. An evacuation hatch or whatever you want to call it. I'm fine with it. I thought it was great, and I also think it's a clever thing to write in to help the story go, and it's a surprise type of thing, and I liked it. I loved it. Then they used the Halo 3 bubble shields, which that's all I thought about was Halo, and I love that you think it's a bomb, and you're like, oh, Jack's got an explosive or something. I thought it could be a transporter or something like that. Maybe, but I pretty much thought it was a bomb because I'm a two-dimensional thinker myself. when people are telling me a story. And instead, it's the Halo bubble. And this is an awesome scene. I did not expect Vatic to die in this episode, or at this point. I had no idea this was coming. And it's awesome. The evacuation hatch starts opening up, and then 7 of 9 goes, "Get off my bridge." It's fucking great. Get off my bridge. And then Vatic drops the F-bomb that we've been told about. We've been told this F-bomb is coming. I actually had no problem with Vatic here being like, fucking solid. Like fucking boom, smashed out the window. Dude, I came unglued for this moment. I really did. I was like, fucking yes. And she goes flying out the goddamn hatch through space. It looks awesome. She freezes, and then she smashes into her own fucking ship and explodes into a million pieces. And this was fucking awesome, dude. This was awesome. I'm sorry to nerd the fuck out, but that was awesomely just fucking awesome, bro. The Halo bubble, Vatic, fucking solids. I don't know if she said solids or solid, but she went flying out the fucking thing and she's dead. Holy shit, was this awesome. Dude, I almost jerked off. Oh, it was so cool. Then she hit her own ship. And then Shaw's let out and everybody's out. And then Shaw's like, you know what? You take this one, 7. And, of course, 7 loves murdering people now and killing everybody because she's weird now, but whatever. And she's like, fine, I'll kill people. I'll blow the ship up, rather. And so she does. They just blow the goddamn Shrike into pieces. There might be some people that are like, well, they should have like commandeered it, or they should have used it, or they should have boarded it to whatever. At this point, bro, they're lucky to be alive and all this other shit. They're just like, fuck it, just blow it up. I loved it. I don't know what people are going to say about that, but I loved that. Great stuff. Raffi, there was one point when Raffi was, during this whole scene, when Raffi was like, bring it on or something, and she had her swords or whatever. That was the only thing in the episode that I went like, what the fuck? Because like, where were their weapons? Why didn't they have guns? The rifles. But it was just so Raffi could have a cool sword fight scene. I think it would have been cooler if like she started with the swords and they had swords, or if they fired their phasers and she threw a sword, knocked a phaser out of one of their hands, got close to them, then they pulled out their swords, and then they had a sword fight for a second. And I know this is super nitpicky, but I just was like, they all have swords, really. She's got a sword, and they've all got swords. And that type of thing happens in like Ninja Turtles and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, well, what happened to the everybody had guns. They always had guns and phasers. Now suddenly they don't, and she has swords, just so she could do her sword fight thing that she did with Worf. So I thought that was just, I was like, okay, whatever. But it would have been better if one of them or two of them had been, their swords, their phasers been disarmed. And then she had a little sword fight. But whatever, it would have been too long of a sequence. This works fine. I liked it. I was excited for it when it happened. I was like, awesome, cool. But I'm just going to say, I'm not going to pretend that I didn't think that. Like, that's weird. I'm going to bring that up. But again, this was awesome. Data takes over. He crinks his neck like crinks or something, and he's like, oh, I feel different than before, but I feel like Data. And I'm like, oh shit. So like, because Data has all these other people in him, and it's almost essentially as if the emotion chip kind of worked. That's how I would describe this Data to somebody who was, wanted to know but didn't see this. I would say Data ends up becoming kind of like the Data the Data we all knew, but if the emotion chip worked well, instead of malfunctioning or him going too far or whatever, like as it maybe, would have been intended to be. That's how I describe this Data. And then we have a wonderful scene of him with Geordi. I love it. I can use contractions now, that sort of thing. And it is a little weird to see Data being Data, but it's Brent Spiner in his older age in the different Gollum body. because in season 1 he really does look a lot like Data. For all the fun people made of the CGI and what they did, it really felt like Data a lot, like exactly like Data almost, in all the scenes, and even later on. But this takes a little bit of getting used to, because this isn't quite what Data looked like. It's now Brent Spiner in his actual older body, playing an older body, but it's Data, but then it's also a new personality of Data in a way. So this isn't quite the Data we know, but it is the Data we know. So I am happy with it. I like it. There's a part of me that's like wishes it was more Data-like, but I know that's not possible. And this allows kind of a nice story for Data, because Data did one of the most human things by sacrificing himself in Nemesis. But then it's almost like Data gets a magical payback years later by being sort of reincarnated in a way as a more human version of Data, which is what he always really wanted. So I don't know, I kind of find it beautiful. And Geordi does too, because he's crying right there. Then we get a just phenomenal introduction of Data for Marina, or for Troy. And we get a wonderful round table situation where they're discussing everything. It feels like Star Trek The Next Generation. They're all sitting around the table. Everybody feels like their characters. Picard feels more like him than ever. I don't know why, because how they directed him on the show, because of how he was written, because he's around the others that validates him more and makes you believe it more. I don't know, but it just, this feels like Star Trek The Next Generation at this point. The way they speak. Worf is funny. I love this scene. This was the scene in episode 8 where I went, holy shit, man. Here we go. This cast has chemistry that's unreal to me, you know? Yeah, this was really great. And so this episode, then they start talking about Jack and what is going on here, what is going on with Jack. A minute ago, Deanna basically feels this darkness on the ship. As soon as she got on the ship earlier, I left that out. And she's like, something's going on, and I feel this darkness, and it's got to do with Jack, and he's the elephant in the room. We got to talk about it. And then so she goes, I got to go meet your son. And she goes to sit with him and use her Betazoid, stuff on him and go into his mind to figure out what's going on here. And I'm sitting there like, we're going to find out, right? Because last episode, Vatic said, this is what we're going to find out. And, oh, my God, they get to the red door. She goes to open it. It turns into kind of a horror movie almost. And then the episode ends. No! 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 Jean-Luc, blow up the damn ship! No! They invade our space, and we fall back. I don't know. That's what I thought. When fucking, God damn it, as soon as this cut off, I'm like, who's behind the door? What's behind the door? The Remans? The Mirror Universe? Armus? An evil version of somebody? No! That's exactly what I yelled no when this episode ended, because I was convinced that we were going to get to find out what the hell is going on with Jack. I was hoping it would happen last episode, but I was really hoping it would happen this episode. And now it doesn't happen again, which is a little bit annoying. No! I'm just going to keep doing that, because that's how I felt. I was actually like infuriated when this episode ended. I was like, if I don't fucking kill myself. Like, it's actually torturous. It's actually torturous, which is good, because I need to know what's going on here. I mean, I don't like waiting. So that's one of the biggest problems some people are going to have, is the waiting. And I think that's why there was such anxiety over episode 7 ending, because it was like, that was like, oh no, like we can't end here. And that's just the way some people are. You know what I mean? It's not like it used to be for a lot of people, especially for younger people. The younger you get, the less patient you are. Although, I mean, I did fine with Stranger Things. You know? But we get Data becomes who he is now. It looks like Data's all together. He's gotten rid of Lore. So we get those answers, those payoffs. They take back over the ship. They kill Vadic. They blow up her ship. And now we're left with the one puzzle. Or with a couple puzzles. What's going to happen with Starfleet being taken over by these changelings if Vadic's gone? And number 2, who is Jack? And I guess number 3, who's the big bad of this season? The real big bad of this season. So this show answered and finished a whole bunch of stories, and there's still 3 major questions on the table. And what will we see? I thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and this episode did make episode 7 better, because episode 7 was so dark and quick to me. And then episode 8, oh my God, bro, it just makes episode 7 better. And it makes I just can't believe I cannot believe that this was done, so that this is making me this excited. It's torturing me not to be able to know what happens. I cannot. If I might chop a finger off. If you told me I could go back, I could go forward to next week to see episode 9 right now, but it was going to cost me my pinky. Most people would say, nah, your pinky ain't worth it. Just wait the week. You'll be okay. I might chop my pinky off. Okay? And that might say more about me than anything, and what type of a pathetic human being I am. But I believe that it says a lot about this show. I choose to think that. But then again, I am just a loser. I'm a loser fan sitting in my basement that I have because I had such a successful YouTube career on my main channel that I was able to get this house. And I could lose it any day because I owe the IRS $70,000. And I'm kind of a failure at life. And I am just a loser fan. What do I know? The writers, directors, producers, and actors are all Hollywood people that they're gods. And we are all just losers. And I am a loser. But that's what I think about this episode, episode 8. Another thumbs up from me. I can't believe that this show is able to do what it does. I never thought I would like something that was under the Kurtzman umbrella. And I really like it. I saw Red Letter Media's reaction to episodes 5, 6, and 7 earlier today, and while I was entertained by it, and I did like it, and they seemingly are still kind of like the season, but they're really concerned about where it could be going. I found their review to be lackluster. I felt they should have brought up more stuff from episodes 5 and 6, and they really spent most of the time kind of being mystified by episode 7. I don't know why they did that. I found that review to be fucking bizarre by Red Letter Media, because I feel like episode 5 was pretty good. Like, I thought episode 5 was pretty awesome, and I thought episode 6 was really fucking cool. And I thought, episode 7 was very dark and incomplete. But for some reason, they took the dark and incomplete, and they just made that the first 45 minutes of their review, which I just was like, what the fuck are they doing? But whatever. So that was mystified by that. Anyway, I'm leaving. that was my review. What do you guys think about episode 8 of Star Trek Picard? What do you think about season 3? What do you think about everything I've talked about here in this video? Please leave it in the comments below. And if you made it this far, please write in the comment section below, Terry Metalis, sexy with Joe, in the chat, in the comments down below. I'm sorry, don't do that, actually. Actually, yeah, do that. That's weird. I'll see you guys in the next episode, episode 9. And if you don't want to type that, just type let's do Picard 69. Maybe we should just do that instead of sexy Metalis. I may get blocked by Terry with that. I'd be a little concerned if some fan who couldn't grow facial hair was in his basement and was saying stuff like that. So maybe let's do Picard 69, right? I mean, I'm almost 40 years old. And that sounds like appropriate for my age. Picard 69, make it so. Down below in the comments section. This is Star Trek Late Night. I love you all. Wherever you are, whoever you are, and whatever you are, we're all humans. And I love you all, and I will love you all. And remember to love and hate everyone equally. We'll see you in the next episode. What do you think's going to happen in 9?